Hello and welcome everyone to Shift Talk. My name is Chad. With me, as always, is Gregson the White Wizard.
Extra white today with the white t-shirt.
Yes, and,
I'm
and
just trying to make myself look a little bit tanner.
it's not working. In any
I
rate,
know.
welcome everyone to the show. Uh, Greg, how are
Yes,
you doing, my good dude?
I'm good. Let me get my camera or my microphone in frame. Hello. Hello. I'm doing okay. Uh can't complain. Wouldn't do me any good otherwise. We got some really good news about my wife's car today. We don't need a new engine, which is quite awesome. There was a horrific rattling noise going on, and thankfully it was just the tensioner pulley assembly. So I literally took off a bracket, put it back on with the new assembly, and it was good to go. It was not a horrible fix. So praise be the car gods that we do not need a new engine and or car at this point. So that was great news today. Um, our buddy Sean over at our local dealership worked on the car, and he's just a Volvo wizard. So he helped me out with all that, and it was great. And man, dude is he's born to be a mechanic. He found something that I would never even have known to look for. So I'm stoked on that. That was really good news today.
That is
How about
fantastic.
you? How are you, sir?
Wow, Internet Dude got here with the quickness. I'll spare Sir
What's up,
Greg this
internet
time.
dude?
um, in any rate,
Appreciate you.
that is good news.
Yes.
Uh, Not good news is that Streamlabs still decides to hate us and not let us go live on X. Not that that is our biggest platform or anything, but
It's
if you know,
something.
you know. It's not a. It's one of those things where, you know, it wouldn't bug me so much, but it is a service we're paying for, and
Yes.
it's their most recent update that fixed a lot of the issues with the last update. Instituted a whole new bunch of
Give us more issues.
gave us even more issues. So here we are. Uh, at any rate, let me just see. Sorry, I'm
No, you're good. You do that. I will run down tonight's
on
glorious
tonight's.
list of topics. Yes, on tonight's episode of Shift Talk,
Cue
Volvo wagon
Jessica.
builds. Yeah. Whoa, that is a big ass beetle. No, I'm just gonna do it in super voiceover voice. Volvo wagon builds. Should you do one, and why aren't you? Roush versus Ram, a matchup for the ages. NASCAR and the Navy. Will NASCAR cars join the Navy?
Oh my god.
Lazy journalism. Journalists suck. News at 11.
True and real. No, we have a. Well, let's face it. It's been a minute since we've talked Volvos or had a reason. Well, I shouldn't say. We always have a reason to talk Volvos. We actually opened the
Yes,
show with your Volvo good news, so
there you go.
I guess that doesn't really work. But
Good
Volvo,
transition.
Volvo wagons specifically is something Greg is quite the knowledgeable person with. Then we're gonna get into Roush cheating on Ford with Mopar. Uh,
How dare you? Love, just like Truck Love Island.
I know that's a thing. I don't know anything beyond the fact that it is in fact a thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too. I just know that it's topical. That's the only reason. I know nothing about the show. I know there's one going on. That's literally it.
but we'll kick things off. Hopefully Oliver is here. If not, Oliver, hopefully you're watching the VOD if nothing else. But a viewer of the show or of Shifting Lanes content
Yes.
TENT. It's YouTube, but in a tent. Content hit us up and goes, "Hey," or "Yo, love the content. Uh, He goes, I have $40,000 to $45,000 to spend. Looking for a daily driver to supplement my Honda S2000. Man has good taste. Uh, Assuming I put every penny of the $40,000 to $45,000 into one of the following options, what would you recommend? The V70R, 850R wagon tribute build, or a 2014 to 2016 V60 Polestar. Priorities are ease of ownership and fun. I've always loved Volvo wagons, and those two are my favorite. I think you
Should
need
be
three.
three.
I'm hoping it's three because you're going to get three options.
I was gonna say, wait a second. Okay, so this is an interesting topic. Mostly because this is a good array of things. Now you might say, no, it's not because it's just 3 Volvo wagons. However, these are very, very different Volvo wagons.
Hello and
for
welcome
many different
everyone
reasons.
to Ship
Before,
There's going to be an echo and go.
okay. So, you might say that this is not really that tough of a answer. To me, it's not, because I've owned 2 of these cars and driven the third, both in stock and tuned variety. So I'm pretty well versed on the topic. There's a couple of schools of thought here. One, the 850R is front wheel drive. It's boxy. It is an all-timer as far as looks are concerned. When most people think of Volvo, they think of either the 240 wagon or the 850 wagon, or the 850 or the 240. Any 240 or any 850. Those are your options. In wagon form, most people think that first because Volvos have always made good wagons. The second thing they think of is probably V70R in both the P80 guys and P2R guys. So as far as what the credentials or what the criteria are, not credentials, criteria are for this particular ask, the biggest thing is usability, with a good budget, and daily drivability while also being fun. And I'll go down the list from 3 to 1. In third is going to be the V70R, I think. The one that's the all-wheel drive. I personally think it's the best looking of the 3. I loved the car that I had. I think it's a great car, but lots of stuff breaks on those, and it's not cheap. Yes, Chad vanished because I think he just put the camera on me. Internet dude. Chad, if you're still there, bark. Yeah, there you go.
Still here.
Yeah, so just focusing on the talker. So the V70R, it can get very expensive. A brake job on that car specifically, they're Brembo pads. They are quite large discs. If you want to do a full retrofit kit with other rotors and pads, you can. A full brake job from the dealer. Obviously, you don't have to go to the dealer for this anymore. There's a very old car, but from the dealer is like $2,000, and that's a pretty expensive brake job. You could push $2,500, $3,000 depending on where you live in the country. The electronics in that car are not all that sound. They do tend to go a lot. The safety is always with Volvo is very good. There are some quality issues with that car, including the leather. It tends to separate a lot. It was that in that transition period of where Ford was getting close to the end of its ownership of Volvo, and Volvo was going independent. So Ford was, there's a lot of FOMOCO parts on it, but there's not enough to be like, okay, you can just go to a Ford shop and get a ton of cheap parts for it. There's still a lot of bespoke things. It's not the greatest option for a daily driver. I dailied one for 3 years. I wouldn't recommend it. It's great as a second or third or even fourth car. Love it for that purpose. In second place, I'd say is the 850R. Again, it's not going to be that cheap, but it is cheaper than the V70R because uh, it's it's going to be not all-wheel drive. It's a front-wheel drive car. The all-wheel drive systems on the V70R are pretty expensive to maintain and pretty expensive to fix if they go bad, which they do. It's less moving parts. And yes, it's front-wheel drive, but they make LSDs for them. They are still very fun to drive. You get that like 90s era torque steer, which can be a blast if you're into it. You get front wheel spin, you get wheel hop. People swear by them. I've driven them, and they are a lot of fun for a front wheel drive car. They are surprisingly fun. They are not as fun to drive as the V70R because of the all wheel drive. However, for your criteria, it is a better car. I also think it's subjectively better looking. I like the V70R better, but the 850R with its boxiness, if it's lowered with the right wheels, it's just good. It's a great looking, it's an all-timer wagon. And in first place is this guy. The reliability of the SI6 motor in these things needs to be studied more because it is probably one of the most reliable engines Volvo has ever made. And it was tapped into their Ford relationship. They designed the engine, Ford built it. So Ford, for all of their foibles and what most Chevy and Ram people say, found on road dead, they make great engines. They build great engines. So it is one of those things where it was a great marriage in this sense of Volvo design, Ford build quality on the engine. And I think this engine is going to go down as the single most reliable one Volvo will ever make. It's an inline six specifically for the ones you're talking about for 14 through 16. In the US, if you're in the US, and I'm not sure where you're from, if you're in the US, they built them from 2015.5 through 2016 with the inline six. After that, in 2017, they went to the super and turbocharged four-cylinder. Also still a good engine. Not as good as this. Doesn't sound as good, but still reliable and pretty stout. This one's just better. For usability, for reliability, for daily driver-ness, this is arguably the best car I've ever owned. So for me, I think this is number one. It is also still pretty fun. Chad can attest to it. He got a little bit of seat time behind it. He's more than welcome to drive it more, but it can be a fun car. And there's stuff you can do to this. You can put a, oh God, I'm going to forget the suspension system. KWs. You can put KWs. They make a kit for this for suspension. They make chassis bracing. They make anti-roll bars, sway bars. They make a whole bunch of aftermarket stuff. It's not a lot. It's definitely not as much as the V70R and definitely not as much as the 850R. This one has some aftermarket stuff. You can make it better. You can make it stiffer if you want. You can get aftermarket wheels. You can play around with it. There's still stuff you can do with it. And these things have come way down in price. These things with 60, 70, 80,000 miles, if you're okay with buying one with that many miles on it, you can find them for $25,000 to $35,000 or even 20 to 30 in that range, which is a wide berth, but still you can find them. This is the play. Yes, there's no manual option. It is still fun. If you have to have a manual, I would go with the 850R. Again, I think the Spaceball is cool. It's a good it's a good transmission. It is overrated because of its quirkiness. The transmission in the 850s is just better in every way. It feels notchier, it feels sportier, it feels way more stout, and they're readily available in junkyards. You can just find them and just slap them in and they will take the power because you can't get a metric shit ton of power out of those motors before they go pop. So obviously you can do things to the motor to make it better, but either way, the 850R is going to be a better thing. You can find those for, again, pretty cheap, 10 to 15 grand for a good example, and then sink a whole bunch of money into it. But for me, what I would do is find one of these for 25, then save your 15 to $20,000 on top of that, and you put 10K in mods in it, and stash the other money away for when this thing needs repairs. The brakes on this thing are also very expensive, like $4,000, because it's a floating rotor setup. So it's like it's proper front brakes. These are 14. These brakes here, there, 14.2 inches. Not enormous by any stretch of the imagination, but pretty large for a commuter car. And pads and rotors all the way around are going to run you about $4,500, $4,000, $4,500. So that would be my recommendation. Chad, you have seat time in this. You have driven the V70R, both of them, pretty heavily. The 850Rs, I'm not sure if you've ever driven one, but I know you've been in one. For this topic, do you agree with the assessment based on the criteria? And if not, what would you go for?
So funny or not, I've actually driven an 850R but that was before shifting lanes was actually a thing.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize that.
It was a long time ago, back when the shop that shall not be named was under better ownership. Yeah. I was friends with the owner. Or not friends, but friendly with the owner.
Yeah.
And I was kind of talking shit on Volvos. He's like, here, this is mine. We're going to take it for a spin. But at any rate, given the criteria, if we're going by daily, yeah, for ease of use, it's obviously going to be your car, for the simple fact that it's the easiest to use.
Yeah.
For me specifically, the concept of a daily is wildly different than it is for the overwhelming majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I will understand that, like, when I look at something as a potential daily, I am very much looking at I have a different line of thinking. And I'm not saying it's better or it's right or whatever. I'm just saying I have a different thing. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. And I mean, this may be absolutely zero shock to any of you, but I'm also not married. So I don't have someone saying, well, why didn't you get something a little more practical?
Don't need to.
But in this particular instance, they're all practical.
Yeah, right. Volvo wagon equals practical. Just how it is.
I personally, as good as your car sounds, I still have PTSD from you trying to tune the
fucker. Yeah.
Which makes it, if like you, again, a $40,000 to $45,000 budget is a fairly sizable amount of money.
Yeah.
In this particular space. I like. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my question back would be: does it have to be a wagon? Because 40 to 45K would buy you a really reliable M3. Honestly.
Really and reliable and M3.
No, the F80s are softer M3s, but they are extremely reliable. They are the most reliable M3s, and you can get one for 40 to 45 with like not a lot of mileage on it. If you didn't want to set aside budget for mods or budget for this, that, and the other thing, and you didn't have to have a wagon, it's like, that's a good shout. Honestly.
So assuming you have taste, common sense, and don't want to drive, it's a whole other conversation, but the F80 BMW M3s is when BMW started losing its way, in my estimation. A whole other topic of conversation. But to me, especially in the M3 platform, the second you started adding a turbocharger to it, you lost the plot, in my opinion. I understand that in the segment they were working in, they kind of didn't really have a choice unless they wanted to go to like a crazy V8 or something like that, which I would have been fine with, but whatever. So In all honesty, if I had this budget, I'd be looking, and you said M3, pick a generation,
Right.
or these wagons, mostly because of my traumatic experience with BMW, which is not to say the norm, but it is something that happens, and it is a cautionary tale that if you get an older BMW, it's ruinously expensive to keep on the road. Not to
Yeah.
say that these aren't, because obviously the older the car, the less parts availability, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. As much as I like your car, as fun as it is to drive, as decent as the transmission actually is for having a torque converter, um, again, I'm not the average person. I don't look at a car averagely for a daily driver. If I'm looking in this segment for a fun daily driver, I want 3 pedals. I get people commute. I get traffic sucks with a clutch pedal sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
but I want something with a manual. So, as good as your car is, it would be 3 for me. Just because it's too easy to use. And I understand that sounds like a pretty ridiculously stupid thing to say, but the point I'm making with that is that uh, look, it has a lot going for it. You can go to any drag strip anywhere, and regardless of what prep they have put down on the surface, you will run somewhere between a 13.2 and a 13.5 with your, well, not your eyes closed. You should always have your eyes open, especially on the track. Um,
Yes.
but in full on idiot mode. It is one of I still want to get you up here and have you take part in some bracket racing. Because that car would be perfect for it.
Yeah, true.
And
Really
it's
would.
cool with the downpipe. It sounds epic. Again, the transmission's really good. It shifts crisp. There's not that much of a delay from pulling the paddle to downshift to it actually downshifting. It has a lot going in its favor, right?
Yeah.
This isn't me crapping on it. However, as I proceed to crap on it, no, I'm kidding. However, you put the other two in front of me. The 850R has that. Uh, Wait, they did what with it? They went racing with it.
Yeah,
So, like,
it's cool.
as much buzz as say the M3 Touring 24-hour N or whatever it is that raced the wagon that raced at the Nürburgring, as much buzz as that received, as much notoriety, as cool as that was, and everything. Volvo did it. Well, I don't want to say first, but they did it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that car has some of that coolness. I know the boys up at FCP Euro were doing a tribute to that car, et cetera, et cetera. I personally, I'm not, doesn't have to be something like that, but that's pretty cool. The downsides are it's an older car. So if you want amenities and stuff, like sure, you could throw a
Yeah.
doubled in Android or you could throw a doubled in head unit in there and get your CarPlay, your Android Auto or whatever and be fine. It's going to be one of those things where you're going to always kind of be tiptoeing around it, right? It's like because you don't know if that interior panel you're ever going to be able to find one as good as it is.
Yeah.
And you could say that the same about the V70R, but I don't know. There was something about the V70. Now the V70Rs in standard ride height look okay in my estimation. They're a good looking car, but they look okay. You drop those a little bit and it becomes a whole different car. Um like and having spent the most time in that apart from the Spaceball shifter itself, which I know Volvoists are probably going to, light their pitchforks and sharpen their torches when I say this, wildly overrated and it hindered the shifter feel a little bit for my taste.
Yeah.
However, when you drive that car, the sounds it make, and yeah, the straight 6 in yours sounds good, and the 850R is probably going to make the same 5-cylinder goodness noise-wise. The sounds that car made, and like you could see people, if you're driving through, say, the center of town, right? And
Yeah.
you were letting the rev hang a little bit or whatever, or you had gotten on it a little bit or any of that sort of stuff. um, people would kind of turn, because when you hear that, your first thought isn't car, or I shouldn't say, isn't a normal car, right? Like people hear it and they think it's kind of like the less they know, they're thinking V10. Then some of your older hats will be like Audi Quattro. And then all of a sudden, a Volvo station wagon drives by.
Right. Exactly.
That's kind of where it's like, man, that's good. But like you said, there's some really weird quirks with that, like the headlights, glass
Yeah. The headlights are
lenses on the
weird.
headlight, um, all that. But for the money that you could probably get a very good one for what, 15, maybe
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. Like the best one for 20.
You know, throw some shims in it, get an upgraded turbo, make somewhere around 400 at the wheels. You know, you
Yep.
have yourself a very fun car. Get a decent clutch in it, um,
Yep.
or whatever. You have a car that's sort of, it just, it's so wildly different. And again, if you only experience the sound of it and then you see it drive by, it's such a biblical mind fuck.
Yeah.
That's really really cool to me, and that's the route I would go, and that's also the route I would go, just simply because we have the most experience with it, and we've had
Yeah.
mostly good experiences with it when you're not, letting your Subaru assault it. Um,
Yeah. That was not a good day.
so that's the route I would go. But I say all of that. If you just want to hop in a car, have something that's fun, that's quick, that looks good, that's modern enough, that's just gonna work, the V60 Polestar is probably it.
Yeah.
Um, just all things considered thing. Um,
Yeah.
and
And that's why I kept saying for the criteria. Because if that's the criteria we're going by, then there is no other answer. This is the answer. If it's which one would you buy without that criteria, I would buy an 850R because I feel that is even I think more than the 240, honestly. That is the quintessential Volvo. It is boxy, it is modern, it makes a stupendously good sound, and it is still fun enough to drive, even though it's front wheel drive, that you can have fun with it. It's manual, it is safe, it is excellent looking when it's done right, and it's not ruinously expensive like the V70R is. And it's going to be a better ownership experience, I feel. So, like, if I had to choose between all of them, the one that I want to own, the 850 is the one for that criteria and the daily drivability. The daily drivability is what sells it. This is an amazing daily driver. You can go in, I mean, this has a baffled exhaust. It's the first Volvo ever to have that from factory. Like, it has butterfly valves. You can have nice neighbor mode, or you can open the valves and it screams. Like, there is no other answer to this based on your criteria than this car.
yeah, so Oliver, hopefully, you get a chance to watch this and that helps. Um, by all means, whatever you decide to do, don't feel like you have to just take it and run with it. Um,
Yeah, keep us posted.
keep us posted. I can't guarantee that we will be able to respond to you immediately, but send questions. And that goes for everyone here. Send questions our way. Uh, again, I can't guarantee I'm going to get to it immediately or that same day, but generally speaking, I try to check our DMs once a day, especially on
Yeah.
the Meta platforms. Uh, not that YouTube has a DM function, but at any rate, um, yeah, hopefully that helps, man, and keep us posted. I did want to kind of catch up with chat because there's a
Yes.
completely different conversation going on there. Um, let's see here. So I'm only going about halfway up. Joseph or Joe Hain over on Facebook goes. It's basically talking about hooking up a ZF8 HP 90 to a K series, and I wanted to touch on that. I wanted to touch on that for a second. He goes, just K24/K20 ZF8 HP 90 with the clutch pedal, throw it into a Civic. As awesome as that would be, one point that, again, I'm not sure if you're close to doing something like that, or what, but the 8 HPs, depending on which, so the 8 HP 90 is the one that comes, among other things, in the Hellcats. So it's obviously a very stout transmission. The problem with the 90s is because of the size of the planetary gears, basically because of the way the transmission is built and how to be robust and handle all of that abusive torque that a Hellcat can dish out, they don't like RPM. In fact, they don't like anything above 7,500. Most people with those go to an 8 HP 70. That, however, if you go on Scrap Life Lee's YouTube channel, he did the crazy thing of putting a built K series into a Charger Hellcat with an 8 HP 70 behind it, and even then, it struggled to handle that nearly 10,000 RPM to such a degree that it fucked the motor. Like, it was providing so much resistance to the motor in the high RPM that the motor was hurt. So I've seen people take the K series, put an 8 HP behind it, put it in a Miata, and make an epic little track car, because those 8 HPs are probably the best, specifically rear-wheel drive automatic transmissions you can get right now on the relatively inexpensive, depending on your power goals. It's just something to keep in mind that if you're planning on, that's why, like, it wouldn't be a great idea for a Coyote unless you're getting like a 70 or even a 50 or 60. I forget the exact number. And anyway, because again, they don't like RPM.
Yeah.
So that's just that's something I wanted to mention and touch on, just again, because I have not firsthand experience, but it's something I pay attention to. Let's see here. We had Gabriel wants us to get Priuses, so we have more money for project cars and stuff. Might work for Greg. For me, I just get project cars. I have my.
I mean, getting a Prius doesn't guarantee having more money for project cars. Priuses also cost money. Like, yeah. They're not cheap. They're like 30, 40, 50 grand, depending on how you want to max them out. Like, they ain't cheap. I mean, you're probably talking about like old used ones, which also aren't cheap. Most people want hybrids now to commute, so they definitely fetch a bit of more of a premium right now.
And then I guess they're talking about heights and Miatas. I'm trying to keep up, but good Lord, you're active tonight, chat, and that is freaking awesome.
Love it.
Steve has entered the chat. Ironically, as soon as we start talking about Honda stuff, coincidence, I don't know. But
yes, our resident Honda file.
Big announcement for Steve. He's going to see the light and start calling one of New Jersey's favorite breakfast sandwiches Taylor ham, egg, and cheese in about 6 to 12 months. So good. Let's all take a moment to congratulate Steve on that.
Good,
there's a whole
good
backstory.
Man.
There's a whole inside joke on that, but Steve and I go back and forth on that, and I won. Let's see here. And stuff. Do we? You wanting to buy a Prius and go to Mongolia? No, David, I don't. Internet Dude goes, you probably would started this. I don't know if you saw the message. Enlighten me. Because again, every time you guys say something in chat, my chat just scrolls right down to the bottom of it. So scrolling super far up, fun. We'll say
hard to do.
So So he goes, for someone who's looking for a first car going to driving school within the next 3 months, I wanted to know what car would be a good first car was on my criteria. Um, I mean, as far as like a first, here's the thing. First cars for new drivers shouldn't be anything special. Those cars are going to
Yep.
get the absolute crap kicked out of them. It's fun to sit here and say, like, if I was in Greg's position with two sons, it's like, we're going to get you something fun with not a lot of horsepower that has rear wheel
Hmm.
drive or something, or what have you, or that's sporty, blah, blah, blah. And frankly, don't want to encourage that in the first year or two. There's a reason why insurance rates drop for the average male at age 25.
That's correct.
Um,
Fully developed frontal lobe.
I
Just so you know.
let me put it to you this way: I managed to find quite a bit of trouble with a 140 horsepower Focus.
Yeah, that was gonna be my thing. Is like it should have enough power to get out of its own way. It shouldn't have enough power to get you into biblical amounts of trouble. Yes, you got into trouble with 140 in a Focus. Those Focus were also very light, and 140, and that was plenty. Um, that being said, you can also get into a ton of trouble with a 118 powered NA Miata. Those are not slow cars either. They can go quite faster in the twisties. Like it's all about perspective in that sense. So the answer to this question is a 2010 Toyota Corolla or a 2010 Toyota Camry. That's the answer. It's like 10 to 15-year-old Toyota. Get that, run it into the ground and or beat the crap out of it. It will be super reliable. It will be cheap to maintain, and you can save money to buy something awesome in your 20s. And
Right. And the other thing with that is God, I wish I'd had it
oh,
dark mode.
or get a Gen 1 CRV with and have a sweet table in the back because nobody knows that it came with that.
Yeah. The point is
Like,
that a new driver is just that they're brand new.
right.
Um, so number one, just by default, they're going to be a little bit more abusive to the car, just
Yeah.
because they're not really all that aware of the four corners of the car. So they're naturally going to bump into stuff, and you don't want to have something that costs a ton of money to where it's like you as the parent is like, oh, I can't believe you scratched that $20,000 thing or $50,000 thing, depending on what quote unquote is expensive to you.
Yeah.
Hell, a $5,000 thing could be expensive to some people. you know um Maintenance is going to be done, but more than likely only if the parents badgering the kid to do it. you know Kids, specifically high school kids, they're driven by something other than you know so you want to get a car that just lasts, and then thirdly and
Yeah.
lastly, you want a car, and then you want to watch and see how they deal with it. Do they take care of it? Do they wash it? Are they good with maintenance? Are they you know taking an interest in actually driving and being a good driver, or is it just literally the washing machine that takes them to Joe's house for the Halo tournament or whatever the hell kids are doing these days? um
The Halo tournament would actually be super sweet.
the Halo LAN party, kids are still doing that, right?
Unreal Tournament 3. Like what?
God, that's a game I've talked more about Unreal's engine than the actual game Unreal.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of where I would go with it. uh it's kind of a bummer, especially if you have a kid who's into cars, um and you want to try to foster that enthusiasm. Handing them a Corolla or a Camry is not going to foster enthusiasm. But as long
Yeah.
as the understanding is there that, look, you know take care of this, prove that you can be responsible, and then we'll go from there. Granted, you might end up with a kid like me who's like, take care of a 140 horsepower car. Got it. Literally, third day I had the car. Big old King Kong front wheel drive burnout on a slight hill directly in front of Greg. Um,
Yep.
um, you know, uh, and again, also depending on where you live in the world, but like, um, mid-size pickup truck wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Um, just from a visibility, drivability. Chances are it's not going to make a gigaton of horsepower, so you're not going to have to worry about them driving or getting too high speeds in any sort of quick fashion. Also, if you happen to live in a world where you need a truck, like i.e. snows a lot, you dirt roads, small town, I get it. You know, stuff like tacos are good for this. Old Rangers are good for this. You know,
Yeah.
again, something that's not going to cost a fortune to maintain, and something that is, you obviously don't want to say disposable, but something that you as the parent aren't going to get upset about if it has a ding or a scratch. And as long as the kid understands, look, I'm not mad that you dinged the car. The car's old, it has dings, it has scratches and all that. But this is yours, and this is a test to see what you can and cannot take care of. So if you want the cooler car, or you want to think about us helping you get the cooler car, whether it be in a situation to actually buy it or help them, you know, down the road, be a co-signer on a loan or something, it proves that your responsibility, that sort of stuff. Anyway,
I agree with everything you said. Oh, and also the other thing is, like, just because you're getting a Corolla or a Camry doesn't mean you can't mod it. You know, if you're into aesthetics, lower it, put nice wheels on it, do up the interior. You don't have to have a fast car to make it a cool car. If you want to have a faster car, there are kits to make any car faster. You can use ingenuity to supercharge anything. It's going to cost money, but you can do things. I mean, those Toyota V6s, they've been supercharged in Lotuses for like 20 years. So it's not like it doesn't exist. You have opportunities. There are ways to be enthusiastic about boring cars. So don't think it's just a death knell of, I own a 2010 Toyota Camry and it's the most boring thing ever. Cool. You know what you can do? Find ways to make it cool. And that then breeds more enthusiasm.
don't modify your first car. That thing's going to get written off. Like,
Totally. But I mean, if you have to, and you like,
I understand, like, upgrading.
There's some like, there's some.
I would sit here and, like, honestly, if I'm you, and your kids are going to be driving in 6 to 10 years, however old they are, because you mention it and I forget it, and if you mention it again, I will forget it again. But like cool stuff, like putting a good head unit in it, so like there is CarPlay, so like hands free without really having to try too hard, that sort of stuff. Where was I? I need to get into here. But with that being said, where's the next article? Nope, that's not him. That's not him. That's again, more not that, more not that. There we go. I have too many tabs open. Do you think a Miata would work as a first car grad? Are we talking like high school grad, college grad?
Sure.
I think it would be a decent car because, again, it would sort of teach them. If it is a methodology for teaching, I guess would be.
Yeah. It's a great car to learn driving dynamics on because it's light and fun without having to have ruinous amounts of power to do so.
You know, I look at it as a Chad plus Greg equals grad.
That's a good one. I like that. Since my name is Gregson, I always call him Chadson. So we each have the son at the end.
That was a thing with you and your wife before you guys got married, where everyone was a son. It was Gregson, Hanson, Chadson, Keithson, Erickson, Bubbason,
Hanson.
It was just, you guys were so adorably annoying.
I like to think we still are.
I would say a Miata is a good first car. However, this is going to boil down to where you live. Because if you live in a place like we do that gets snow, it's not ideal. Now, on the one hand, you could sit here and say, well, that's great. You're not driving in the snow, which is safer, but isn't, because eventually they are. And having some experience is better than no experience. But I would say, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know too many 17, 18-year-old kids who are going to look at a Miata and be like, yeah. But
Yeah,
it's a
agree.
good car to learn on. And if that's sort of if that's a way to bond, if you're both into cars and you want to teach them certain things, that's a great car for that. It'll also teach them responsibility. It'll also give you an opportunity if there's empty parking lots or what have you in your local town to sort of teach certain dynamics, especially after it rains when there's a little water on there, so it's a little slicker. And a good thing to learn on a lot of that stuff. That's how I learned momentum and how cars feels when they lose grip, how they feel as they grip back up, what to do, all this other sort of stuff. So like I will sit here and say that pretty much any car can be a good first car. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that any form of Mustang would be a great first car, but if you have a good dynamic between parent and child, you can make it work. If there's that good understanding, if that kid's one of those individuals who's, how do I put this? A responsible individual who's not going to necessarily do something stupid. Now, again, kids do stupid things. That's how we learn. You just hope that they're smart enough to not do catastrophically stupid things.
Yes.
Backseat in a Miata lessens the possibility of a teen pregnancy. That's 5 head from Gabriel advice.
That's good.
So anyway, yeah, David goes, they took us out to a track, flooded it so we could drive in the wet. Like, you've heard us talk about this a bajillion times on the show about how little training someone in this country needs to get a license and drive a car by themselves.
Scary.
So as parents, it's really on them to sort of teach kids certain dynamics, certain what it feels to be in a heavy braking situation. Because guess what? If you don't teach your kid how to, like, if they're driving and they slam on the brakes and suddenly they fear the bzzz of ABS, they may freak out and get off the brake because that's not a natural sound for a car to make.
Yeah.
Right? You don't experience a car losing the front. Generally speaking, most normal cars will lose the front axle before they lose the rear axle. They don't know what that feels like until it happens. They don't feel what it feels like to sort of have the car slow down slower when the roads are wet. That's not really 6 hours with an instructor, pass a written test, pass an exam with a driving instructor at the DMV, maybe takes 30 minutes, maybe, and a kid's licensed. In New Jersey, they have a year of being a probationary driver, which means they are limited on the number of passengers they can carry, and they have a quote-unquote curfew as late as they can be driving. That's it.
It's not a lot. It's pretty easy. And if you fail it, you get to do it again next month, and the month after that, and the month after that, and the month after that. You can just keep doing it. So like, it's not difficult.
It's not, but it's completely alien if you've never experienced it.
Yeah, true.
True. I learned more from my accidents. I shouldn't say more, but I reinforced more of my father's lessons in my accidents than just driving around. Because every kid's going to look and be like, okay, Dad, yeah, you're right, blah, blah, blah. Suddenly you drive, like, until the real world or reality comes out, like the jackass hand, it just whop.
Yes.
At any rate, Greg.
Yes.
What is the first thing you think of when you hear the name Roush?
Roush. I think them are racing cars.
And what are those cars typically?
Volvos. Also,
exactly.
No. Fords.
I mean, for a certain period of time, you were in the Fomoco family, so
yes. So, Ford adjacent in that sense, but Fords, because they make Ford funsies, like
obviously they have a connection with Mustangs. They have a connection with a lot of Ford different products. I remember growing up, you could get a Ford Focus, a Roush Focus,
Yep, which is hilarious and awesome.
um, and everything. But Roush is a name associated with Ford for years. So it should come as some surprise that on their social media, specifically Instagram, when Roush Performance not only posted a picture, but also tagged Ram trucks with a silhouette of a truck that just says summer 2026, which it
Which
is
is
summer,
now.
and it is 2026.
It was
So
summer
where is
3 days
it?
ago.
Me
Yeah,
want.
3 days, too long. Where's it at?
But this obviously is teasing an official partnership between Roush and Ram, and
Yeah.
I'll get your thoughts on it in a second. However, I find this very curious. One, like we talked about, Roush and Ford has been a marriage for a long time.
Yep.
But I have a theory as to why they may be not leaving Ford, but widening their horizons, so to speak. Where it becomes even more curious is, what's Roush gonna do? Ram has the TRX. Ram has the Rumblebees coming.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Roush fit into this equation? Which could mean one of two things. They're going to be doing a slightly different version with better suspension. Maybe it's better handling package, blah, blah, blah. Or more power. Not sure. So it's interesting.
It's a weird one, I'll be honest.
You know,
because look at the Roush Mustangs. The Roush Mustangs is a good example of that too, because where does Roush fit in there, other than its legacy, right? There are tons of different Mustangs that they make. There is the Mach 1. There is the Shelby GT350 of years past. There's a Shelby GT500. There's the new SC. There is all the Salines. There's any number of different Mustangs available in certain generations or other generations. And what does Roush do to Mustangs? It's an appearance package. It is a handling package and brake package, and maybe a slight bump in power. So I think you kind of maybe nailed it.
They have a supercharged version, but continue.
Okay, so supercharged version, but I think then you hit the nail on the head. It's just like, okay, well, it's just that like OEM plus. I think it's going to be like
right.
that, like the Rumblebees. They take a Rumblebee, they make it handle better, they give it a bit more power, maybe bump it to 850 instead of the 777. And then you get the Roush Ram Rumblebee, the triple R. Ooh, that's good marketing. So like, I don't know, like that's where my mind went almost immediately when you said Roush Ram.
So here's the thing. So I have a theory as to the why. And it goes back to your point about the Mustangs. That space is incredibly crowded.
Yes, it is.
Incredibly crowded. To such a degree. So, if you want a Roush Stage 3, I think, with the supercharger making thereabouts 800, a little bit more, where have I heard this before? RTR.
Yes. Oh, it's another Mustang. I forgot. It's like a version of it.
Actual Shelby. Saline is still kicking around.
Right.
You know, not to mention there's a number of dealerships that will put a supercharger on a Mustang and you'll keep your freaking warranty, which is what Roush's appeal was in the past. Was that they will give you a GT with a supercharger and some handling tweaks for less than the Shelby's, but still made a ton of horsepower, and it came with a warranty. So that space has become incredibly crowded. In my estimation, RTR has kind of become the new Roush. Just because Von Gittin understands social media better than Roush does. And this isn't a slight on any of the Roush products. They're very good. In fact, I've seen a Roush supercharger kit, Twizzler, and MT82 input shaft on the S550 Mustangs. proving that the MT82 is just top-notch Ford. Um,
I detected no sarcasm.
so, and then you look through the lineup, and it's like, okay, yeah, they could do an F-150.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could probably do any, like, the Edge ST by Roush. And the line of like 7 people who actually care would be really excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, but their bread and butter was Mustangs.
Yeah.
So, name a tuning house for Mopar stuff. Hennessy does some stuff.
Yeah, but
that's
Hennessy
about it.
doesn't count.
But there's there's really nobody.
Not. I was gonna say the only
I'm
thing
sure
that
there's
comes to mind is Cummins, but that's diesel, and that's not
Well,
a
that's
tuning
because
house.
there's a Cummins in the 2500 and 3500.
I know but that's I think lends I think that lends it to the point of just like that's the only thing that comes to mind, and it's not accurate.
So, and as we all know, there's V8s coming to the Charger platform.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, even though you look at Ram and you're thinking, that kind of sort of doesn't. Ram already kind of has a bunch of different models. You want a spicy 6-cylinder, the RHO exists. I don't know who's buying those, but apparently somebody has.
Yeah. Someone has and they exist.
Yeah, Joe. Gail. Who, funnily enough, helped develop the first turbocharged Volvo.
Yes,
and I'm not
right.
talking like a one-off build car. I'm talking literally the first production version of a turbocharged Volvo.
Yes, Gail Banks is a turbo legend,
and obviously he's very enormous in the diesel space at the moment.
Yes, yeah, and has been for many years.
Yes. So, getting into the Ram space, and not for nothing, I'm sure there's people out there who'd like a decent supercharger kit for a regular V8 Ram who don't want to pay Rumblebee or TRX prices, right?
Right.
So there is a hole there in the lineup. So I see this as okay, we can get into a space. It's not an overly crowded space. And as Mopar and Ram and Dodge sort of get their crap together, the Roush is right there. So also begs the question, are we about to see Roush not be Ford in NASCAR in the not too distant future? Because one of the worst kept secrets in the world is that Dodge is coming to NASCAR. We just don't have a timetable for that yet.
Yeah.
It's probably 3 to 4 years, roughly. So, like, there's a lot in here that could potentially be good for Roush. They're separating themselves from an extremely crowded Mustang space. I'm sure they'll still have it, because guess what? I think the next version of the Mustang, you know what it's probably going to have? A Gen 5 Coyote. You know what Roush has? Superchargers to fit any generation of Coyote.
Yeah.
But like being with Ram and Dodge and Mopar as a whole opens up. Number one, it lends credence to some of the Ram stuff because Roush is behind it. And it gives Roush a partner to play with, and they don't have a lot of competition in that exact same space.
Right.
That being said, it is pretty interesting. It's pretty exciting. And again, I think this is exactly what Roush needed to do to generate good buzz around their words.
Jack around Roush. Their offerings.
You know, yeah, that's another thing too. Joe goes, Jack Roush in a Ram in the truck series. They could venture, because here's the thing. Right now it's just Colleague Motorsports running the Rams, and that's great and that's fantastic, but there's only 5 of them. Getting more would mean more eyeballs, more teams, more data, more things to try, and would help accelerate the development of those vehicles. Not to mention, Roush has experience with sims, could help them get a better sim, yada, yada, yada. All the things that sort of partnership comes along with. Alicia goes,
Yeah.
"You're doing great, Chad." LOL. Thank you. um, and that, with that
Well
being
done.
with that being said, Greg, your topic of the day.
My topic of the day.
Your topic for the day as I take a quick fiver.
Oh, nice.
What? How do I put this? Not necessarily Roush, but somebody like Roush. Somebody like RTR. Somebody like that. Give me a brand or a types of cars that you would like to see that applied to that doesn't have it at the moment.
Oh, so like Roush with Ram as in Polestar to whatever, like or something like that, right?
Well, a third-party tuning house. So, like, we know
Yeah, that's
Polestar
what I mean.
started that way, and then it
But it's
became
like,
that, and now it makes
yeah,
electric things and lady
yeah.
shavers, and I don't know what else.
Third-party tuning
So,
house.
like, so like a Roush Saab, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Man, I don't think I know enough third-party tuning houses
I
to.
don't mean the tuning house themselves. I'm just saying which
Right.
brand would you like to see something like that? So, like, if
Oh, okay.
let's
I
just
see. I see.
say a magically the world aligns and you have a shop that can do R&D and production of performance parts for
Right.
whomever, and
Right.
then where would you apply that?
Okay. That makes sense. Well, I mean, my natural instincts go to Volvo because there isn't that right now. They have like Polestar engineered, which isn't the same. It's not what it once was. It's not the same. It just isn't. It's also not third party because it's owned by Volvo. So there's also that. The other part of it is Volvo doesn't really have they've never really had a good tuner. Um that has done what Roush does for Ford or RTR does for Ford or whatever. It's not They've never really had that. I would love to see that for Volvo because now Volvo's in a really interesting position. They are sort of coming out of the EV only space and they are going more towards the hybrid space. And I feel like there's also an opportunity to start going for these hybrid options for cars, right? Because everyone's going more towards hybridization as opposed to EVization, if you will. So, I think it's going to be really fascinating to see if hybridization really takes hold in that sense, and if they can get some good performance out of them from these cars. But again, also Volvo's never had that good third party tuner. It's always been like this guy does this tuning, or Polestar makes a map. It's never really happened well. On the other hand, there's a newer company that I think does have an opportunity to have that happen. Genesis makes beautiful cars. They make cars that are definitely they're getting more into the performance realm. They just started as a company in 2015. They had the Genesis as the Hyundai Genesis as a car. Not the same. Now it's its own company. That would be a company that I would love to see a third party kind of come in and be like, hey, let's partner together and make something really crazy. because they have that ability. They have Genesis has deep pockets. They make a lot of money through Hyundai as a parent company, and they do sell a bunch of cars. So that's an interesting one because at that point you get beautiful design. Excuse me, didn't want to like hack a lung into your ears. You get beautiful design with uh potential game-changing performance in terms of Genesis. So I think that's a company that could be very interesting to watch. I still think Volvo is number one there because they still have turbocharged, hybridized four cylinders that are pretty potent, I'll be honest. I own one of them. The engine is good. It's a good motor. I don't know exactly how reliable it is. It's been reliable for us, but I'm talking long term. It's 2017. It's super and turbocharged. It is over-engineered in that sense. But the new hybridization is really interesting because you can tweak electronics to give you more power. We've known that from Tesla. So the Teslas they don't have a ton more. They've just been giving you extra power. It's not like they've replaced any electric motors in your car. They just have unlocked power. And I feel like with how hybrids go, or they're going, or they're trending in that direction, you'll be able to utilize both the internal combustion and the hybrid to really tune it to get like a lot more power, or at least in that sense, a more interesting level of power that would be more palatable to an enthusiast. So I think Volvo is a cool one. Genesis is a cool one. Toyota too. I mean, there's tons of aftermarket for Toyota, but like the GR Corolla, the GR Supra, the GR, what was the third one? Oh God. Well, the new one that came out, the GR GT. There's that, but like a true dedicated like third party, like Alpina was to BMW, but that was more of like a luxury coach builder in a way. They did do like different power upgrades and stuff. It's I don't know. There are options, I think, is what is boiling down to here. There are definitely options, and I feel like Toyota is an interesting one too because there is so much aftermarket, but there isn't like a dedicated like there's Mugen with Honda, and I'm sure there is one, but I can't think of it right now. My brain is like fogging, and my chat is frozen on both my phone and I if you're chatting, I cannot see you. I'm sorry. Like my chat is frozen on my phone, on my computer, and on the feed. Obviously, I literally can't see anything. I'm sure Chad's screaming at me with a Toyota third party option, but I cannot think of it for the life of me. Either way, um, yeah, I think the most interesting one is Genesis because of how new they are and because it's luxury and they're sort of dabbling in performance with the orange, the lava. I forget the It was a bunch of concept cars. They were all orange and they looked really cool. They're now racing. They have a Le Mans entry. Um, and they just started in 2015. So like Genesis is probably the most interesting one. I think that's a very cool shout because also any Korean manufacturer doesn't really have that third party attached to them either. So yeah, those will be my couple. Toyota, Genesis, and Honda. I guess if we're gonna go completely balls out, Bugatti. But don't they have like a Mansory Bugatti where it gives like extra power and like the most horrific body kits of all time? Like that there's that. I know that there's like Liberty Walk, but they don't do power for JDM stuff. Um, I don't know. There's a couple of interesting things that you can do with like with money no object. Like, could you imagine a third party tuner for Pagani? Just like, oh yes, my Pagani Huayra BC wasn't cool enough. I now need a third party tuner or a third party to come in and tell me, yes, I need to have this thing. Uh, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty sweet. Again, I also like going for luxury and money no object insano builds and insano things, which would be wild. So like the Koenigsegg third party option, like what does that even look like? It's like, yes, we're going to take our 1800 horsepower Regera and Hennessy is going to tune it to be 3000 horsepower. Like, it's just funny to me. I don't know. Chad, have you returned from your fiber by any chance? Are you
Nope.
there? Oh, no. Okay, cool. I'm leaving then. Bye. Um, yeah, but for I guess my number one would be Genesis because that would be I think they have interesting plans. I think they have interesting stuff, and I think there's some cool stuff to be done in that realm. In Korea in general, I would love to see a third party take a bunch of the Korean cars and just go to town.
I mean, that's not a bad one. I personally think it just needs to be Volvo again.
Right? It feels natural. Like,
You know,
let's make some cool freaking Volvos. Why not?
you know, uh, I think Rough needs. Well, Rough hasn't gone anywhere, but it'd be
Yeah,
cool to
they're
see
still
them.
around, but it's not the
Um,
same.
Greg's chat froze. Yeah, I don't know. I just noticed that it was only updating on YouTube side and not the Facebook side, and I don't know. That's
Yeah.
it's nope. I can't. Nope. Nope. Close. Don't do that. That is a terrible idea. That's a link. That's a nothing. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry about that, guys. I think I have an idea on why that is, but not something I can fix at the moment. Um, Chris goes, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late to the party. Not a problem at all, my brother. Better late than never." Um,
Yeah.
insert Lord of the Rings Gandalf, a wizard only arrives when something quote that I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, Alicia, yes. I mean that's our unofficial slogan. Is Greg broke it? Uh,
It's my fault.
but um, at any rate, let's move on.
What? Well, wait. What about you? Answer your own question. What are you doing?
Am I doing? I thought I did.
Oh, yeah. You said Volvo. Sorry.
Um,
My brain is not
I
braining.
think Genesis is a good shout. I think their Magma division is doing a pretty damn good job in house.
Magma. Thank you. It's like lava, orange, hot things, magma,
Come on,
liquid hot
just
magma.
that's what I'm
Thank you.
saying. Like that's the first thing I hear in my head every time I see it. They're doing a pretty good job of it. Um, but would be cool to see some of that trickle down into some of the regular models, like to have a Magma G whatever sedan, the alphanumeric uh, code they do for their sedans, etc. I think that would be really really cool. Hyundai has the N division, which is very similar in ethos to BMW's M
Yeah.
division, which should
Yeah,
be
it's not really
really
third party ish. Sort of like in house.
uh, which should come as no surprise because the guy who runs N at Hyundai came from BMW's M division. Um, I think it would be cool to see. Nobody's really tackling the small car space, and I think
Mm.
I think it would be like you mentioned Mugen with Honda, Toyota has TRD, but that's like,
It's still in-house though. It doesn't count.
I think it would be interesting to see, they have TRD, they have GR, they have, I'm guessing, Partridge in a Pear Tree as well. Joe says Infinity would be a good one. Actually, Nissan Infinity as a whole, that's actually a very good point, because let Nissan and as a byproduct Infinity,
They need it.
focus on being better.
Yes.
As we've covered before, and let a third-party tuning house sort of take the reins on making the Z faster and partner with them. Let this other company do all the heavy lifting R&D wise, and then spend a little bit of money to just verify that the parts are good, the quality meets your expectation, blah, blah, blah. And then allow those cars to be sold at your dealerships with a warranty. It's kind of a... And then they can spend more money on, focusing on making their stuff better. Let's see. Is there any other ones that think Japan? Like, I mean, I would say Mazda, but like, what is really Mazda doing? Like, I don't really need a tuning house messing with crossovers. Sorry, but it's a waste of bandwidth in my estimation. What the hell is on my leg? Sorry. Squirrel. Anyway.
Squirrel!
Gabriel goes, Mazda Speed needs to come back like Kim Kardashian's back. Does it come with a Lewis Hamilton riding it? But Jaguar just needs to figure their fucking shit out. The last thing they need, a third-party tuning house. What's a third-party tuning house going to do with an electric fucking Lego brick?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that the same logic would apply to Jag as it would apply to Nissan, but oh boy, I'm bleeding.
Okay, that was the ultimate squirrel. What is happening over there?
I don't know, but I am in fact.
Please get that checked. Please check it out.
I went to life update. I don't do cardio in the traditional sense because I get one, bored with it, and two, if I were to run, my knees would explode on mile 0.03. So I do a lot of hiking. Oh, not a lot, but I just recently got back into hiking. And I noticed today that my legs were all fucking scratched up. And that's what... Something was on my leg, and apparently that led to... Anywho.
Scratching.
The bloodletting has begun. Yeah.
The bleeding. The bleeding.
Don't say I never bled for you, chat. At any rate... I think I could put a bow on this and I could say every manufacturer needs one. All of them.
Yes.
Every car can be improved with more.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to move on. Greg.
Me.
Did you watch any of the NASCAR weekend at Coronado Naval Base?
I did not, unfortunately.
Fired. It's not poison ivy. It's literally just scratches from. There's literally one trail that I like to go to because I used to use it as like a cut through when I was a kid to get to the center of town and the pizzeria, the video store, the whatever. And it's not part of the quote unquote maintained trail, and like a dumbass, I was wearing shorts. But at any rate, Greg did not watch any of the NASCAR coverage from arguably what I have to say one of the coolest motorsports events that has existed in my memory. The fact, like I said this, and real quick before I get into the nuts and bolts on why I liked it so much, I do want to mention I put comments, I pinned them where I could. I made a mistake when I did a video on this talking about whether or not they should return to Coronado Naval Base, and I'll get Greg's thoughts on, should something he didn't watch return to a place he didn't know existed in a second. But I did make a mistake. Kyle Larson did burnouts on the USS Midway, which is a retired aircraft carrier. It was commissioned shortly after, like a week or two after the end of World War II, and decommissioned in 92 and turned into one of our floating museums. Fun fact, our floating museums would by themselves would be like somewhere in the fifth or sixth largest navy in the world, and we're just using them as museums. So
yeah,
like the USS New Jersey still exists. And mark my words, I think purely for the vibe, it should be recommissioned, and instead of all of these smart weaponry, just go back to 16-inch guns. The famous story of the USS Wisconsin having a gun emplacement back during the Korean War. The USS Wisconsin, there was a gun emplacement as it was doing its patrols that shot at it. It went through the deck, the round from the enemy. Minimal damage. The USS Wisconsin, which is like the New Jersey, an Iowa class battleship, did a full broadside, and I forget how far just that full broadside moved the ship, like not like in the direction a ship normally goes in, but perpendicular to that, like something like 10 feet or something, like, which tells you the force involved. And the headline from the news articles after that was USS Wisconsin sinks island.
What a headline. Sinks entire body of land.
So like, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm stealing this joke from the Fat Electrician, but it's not only did it take out the gun emplacement, but it is literally making that region of the world's topographer's job harder. And the funniest thing is one of its escorts from a destroyer just afterwards came over the radio and just went, temper. But in any
That's
rate,
wild.
one of the coolest things about this entire weekend, regardless of whether it was the trucks, the O'Reilly series, or the Cup cars, was when the cars came out of turn 2, and went down that short shoot. In the backdrop, as they're driving, was the USS Carl Vinson, which is a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, which on vibes alone is fantastic. Yeah, the track was rough. It was tough. It was brutal on tires, which makes for much better racing.
Yeah.
The racing was actually pretty damn good. We saw some pretty decent wrecks, some wrecks that caused barriers to move in quite a violent way, but those barriers weren't meant to be ultra permanent as a methodology of dissipating energy.
Yeah.
It had everything. You had literally a drunk scale a fence during a red flag during the O'Reilly's race and walk up to Sheldon Creed, driver, in his car and just start striking up a conversation. Which, in terms of things that are dumb, going onto a NASCAR track during a race, regardless of whether or not it's a red flag, dumb idea. It's happened at Watkins Glen in, I think, 2007. Yep. But it's a dumb idea to do so on an active military installation. So not only does this guy have local charges, he's facing federal charges for trespassing on a, guess what, restricted area on an active naval base.
Jesus Christ.
Chris mentions Corey Day, his car it was hilarious because you know how in the Cars movies the mouths are the grill, right? It literally looks like the car tried to eat the manhole cover like it was a cookie.
Jesus.
It was just, and like NASCAR did a really cool thing with that. They let him, so obviously as during the red flag, while they were fixing all the other manhole covers to make sure this didn't happen again, they let him fix the car, which usually they don't let you work on the car during a red flag, but it wasn't any racing fault. It was literally the track, quote unquote, deteriorating. And the laps he lost under the caution, he was allowed to get back, which almost led to a horrible incident where they didn't just flip a switch on the timing and scoring and say Corey Day's on the lead lap. They made him go around the track the 4 or 5 times to get his laps back, which I partially understand. And he almost hit a truck going
Jesus
the opposite
Christ.
direction. And
This is
then,
a cluster.
yeah, but it was such a cool event. You had, much to my chagrin, SVG be getting taken out in the cup race, but when you look at it as a whole, it made that race better for the simple fact of, oh, SVG not going to win. Who's going to win? It ended up being Corey Heim, like his 14th or 15th cup start, which was epic. You saw him pass his teammate Tyler Reddick, and then Reddick tried to do the switchback on him, doors him, pushes him into the marbles. Heim scrapes the wall, and something I've never seen in NASCAR ever. Reddick had the position. He could have kept going. Whether he kept it, who knows? Reddick slowed down and let Heim pass him because obviously he wasn't a clean pass. I've never seen that in NASCAR, and a lot of the NASCAR drivers are like, "The fuck you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick on his podcast is like, "I'd never do that."
Yeah.
What you call it? Carson Hocevar, who's filling in for Dale Jr. on the Dale Jr. Download podcast, he's like, I didn't like it. I don't understand it. And like he tried to put it from a he took it, slammed in, gave it back, which is a cool thing to do. And there's an argument to be made that, like, he saved himself aggravation because Heim had already shown he was willing to use the front bumper in a, let's just call it, persuasive manner.
Battering manner.
Not battering ram. He's a little but
Yeah.
like, people don't watch NASCAR. Like, that shit happens in Formula One.
Yeah. Keep going. I'm gonna run real quick and grab something, and I'll be right back. We keep going on this.
Gave the position. Do it for Dale, right? Yeah, Chris, I'm getting there. But just to put a bow on the Reddick and Heim thing, I kind of get it because you don't go to a NASCAR race to see them drive in quote unquote a gentlemanly fashion. That's like a European style driving thing. That's a sports car. That's an open wheel thing. Yada, yada, yada. In NASCAR, that shit happens. So, while it's cool, it's like, what have you. And then as Chris mentioned over on the Facebook chat, excuse me, you have Noah Gragson. My favorite part of this whole thing is that any third-party person who's talking about Noah Gragson, it automatically defaults to Gregson, which for obvious reasons is hilarious to me. There's a whole back and forth with them. Like, I think it started way early in the race. And shortly after, I think it was the caution that ended stage 2, I think. But they've been going back and forth. Magnussen, according to Gragson, Magnussen was dive bombing him. It's a road course. Like, you kind of have to expect it. That's how passes are usually made on road courses. Gragson was catching feelings. He started blocking the ever-living shit out of Magnussen. Brake checked him once. Ran him off in the chicane a second time. Now, on the one hand, so if Gragson did that to literally any other driver, like let's say he did that to Denny Hamlin, Hamlin's reaction would be the exact same as Magnussen's. It's like, okay, when I have the opportunity, you're going for a ride. There's no blocking rules in NASCAR because it's self-policing. You block a guy one too many times, guess what? You're going for a ride. And again, that's part of the NASCAR appeal, right? We don't have stewards' inquiries. These two guys had a disagreement. Guess what? They got in each other's faces. Joe goes, it's like we're going to go to North American hockey for gentle play, and NASCAR is for enforcers. I mean, yeah. Yeah, and then like Gregson's like, "What's your problem? What's your problem?" Magnuson is like, "F off, F off, F off, F off." And arguably one of the funniest things about the whole thing is Kevin Magnuson is not American. He's Danish, Denmark. His father, Jan Magnuson, was one of the most successful sports car drivers of that generation. Drove for Corvette, like other manufacturers too, but most arguably made his bones with not made his bones, but had his greatest amounts of success with the Corvette factory racing team that went on, won Le Mans, all that sort of stuff. But they're Danish. I think they're Danish. Red flag, white cross, pretty sure. And Magnuson, whose English is a second language, he speaks it very well, but it is his second language, just looking at Gragson going, "Do you understand English?" Top tier. And tell him to like that. And I think there's one angle of it floating around. I could not find the video, but there's another angle of the whole thing where towards the like middle to end of it, Gragson's PR lady, who's right behind him, who you see at the end of the clip that everybody has right now, is like trying to usher him away, right? And here's the thing about K-Mag. Number one, everybody's calling him a Formula One driver. Did he drive for Haas, an American F1 team? Did he drive for them? Yes, he did. But he's an endurance driver now. He drives for BMW. He competes in hypercar. So this whole comment to Gragson, these open wheel guys, once they get fenders on them, they just start dive bombing everyone. Number one, that's how they pass in open wheel racing. If you ever watch, they outbrake each other. And it's usually fairly aggressive. Number two, he drives a car with fenders. It's his day job now. But Joe goes, they should have let him brawl. I mean, I think K-Mag was fully ready to go that route if all Gragson had to do was cross that line. But here's the thing about K-Mag that I find so funny is a lot of people are being introduced to his, let's just say, unique way of discussing disagreements with fellow drivers. If anyone here remembers Formula One, when Magnuson was driving for Haas, he had a run-in with Nico Hülkenberg in a race. And during Magnuson's interview, Hülkenberg walks by and is sort of giving him the business a little bit. You know, kind of basically laying the whole accident at Magnuson's feet. You know, that sort of stuff. Similar to Gragson, but like... And Magnuson, who is giving an interview with television, turns to Hülkenberg and says twice, "Suck my almonds." Mate, says it twice to him. Dude is a legend. I really hope, obviously, he's not going to be competing in any more NASCAR races this year. I don't know. I hope that the Project 91 with Trackhouse comes back next year, and maybe Magnuson is one of those drivers again. I sincerely hope, because it's absolute cinema and it's an absolute storyline, and this is why NASCAR doesn't deal with stewards' inquiries or whatever. Drivers, if you want to have at it, have at it. Now, obviously, they don't want it to turn into a brawl just because the corporate sponsors don't love that. But every now and again, a good brawl is good for business, especially if your business is that rebel attitude, born from moonshine, running from the cops, you know, to do it for Dale. I mean, Dale was a great driver, but he didn't get the Intimidator nickname by accident. Like, he earned that. So I personally was a huge fan of that. I love the fact that he didn't just say, like, you know what, I'm a guest here, you're right, and kind of lay down, just play the good soldier. I love that he stood his ground, And then in his interviews was like, yeah, the dude's an idiot. I think in the one interview he said, Noah could have had a good race. He chose not to, which is hysterical. Uh, you know, another thing I learned this weekend was is where is he? Is I don't know why I forgot the name. Damn it. This is gonna irk me. But no, that didn't. Anywho, we learned this weekend that they were making fun of me earlier for the SVG glaze, right? Like, I'm a big SVG fan. I love the fact of seeing someone come from another form of motorsport, trying NASCAR, and arguably being the most successful person do it. With at least since the 70s. I can't remember the 60s enough. There was a ton more crossover back then. But obviously, Austin Hill on a restart gets out of shape, overdrives the corner, runs into Connor. They both kind of go into the wall. SVG has nowhere to go. Big pileup. Takes SVG, Connor Zilich, Ty Gibbs, all big road racers, or big, good on road courses, threats to win out of the race, which again made for an interesting end of the race because the usual suspects weren't there. But Austin Hill caught some shit from the Kiwis and the Australians on a lot of the SVG fan pages that I pay attention to, mostly because I like to see what they say, because they don't fully understand NASCAR, and it's kind of funny. And on occasion, I try to educate. But man, they were, send Hill back to the O'Reilly series. Why the hell is he racing? Why was he allowed to race on the O'Reilly's race, which he won, by the way? And then in Cup, not really understanding that he wasn't supposed to be in Cup at this point, but because of Kyle Busch's tragic passing, he was, and making RCR find another driver didn't seem right. Let the kid, he's not a kid, but drive a little bit.
Kid enough.
Younger than me.
That's right. Child, infant child.
But, well, you want to talk about infants. Like, these guys were going at it. And, like, generally speaking, like, a lot of times when I chime in there, I try to provide perspective. Like, a lot of these fans think SVG should leave Trackhouse, not really understanding that there's nowhere to go. Like, there's one seat at Hendrick, and that's likely going to be filled by Corey Day or Zilich, depending on how the whole thing shakes out. And in the Chevy pecking order, it's Hendrick, Spire, RCR, Trackhouse, kind of all fighting for that second really spot. And it's really been Spire this year. And it should come as no surprise that Spire has a technical partnership with Hendrick. It's like one gigantic 7-car team. JGR has it with 2311. There's some Ford crossover between teams, not as much because Ford's a weird one. Like, they're doing enough to make sure they get like credit for attending class, but like Toyota's the best when it comes to young driver development. All this, they are the best. Chevy's right a little below them. Ford is like, oh, you were good in another car, you're driving for us now, which is an interesting business model, but like, what have you.
It's the Red Bull business model.
It isn't. That's the exact opposite of Red Bull.
I was just going to say it's the opposite. It's not the. It's like Red Bull. You were good for us, but not good enough. Be gone. You're not Max and or Seb. Go away.
Right, but Red Bull signs these fucking things as fetuses.
Like, yeah, like you're 14 and have had moderately good success at karts. You're on our team now. As he chugs a Red Bull.
Hells yeah. I'm a little annoyed that the SVG Red Bull cans are only at Circle K, and there's no Circle K's up by me. But at any rate,
There's one around here, but it's like far. It's far for you.
Chris goes. Legacy has an alliance with Gibbs. It's not anywhere. So Legacy actually distanced themselves from Gibbs. They're building their own sim. They're doing all things their own way. They're not in now. Toyota as a whole is sharing all the data between their teams. So there is an alliance of sorts because of the manufacturer, but it's not like Gibbs in 2311. 2311 teams and drivers are in the Monday meetings with the Gibbs teams and drivers. It's all one thing. It's just the expenses for 2311 are going through Denny Hamlin and the greatest basketball player to ever live, Michael Jordan.
That's right.
And all the Gibbs expenses are going over there. But as far as like sharing information and stuff like that, that's their part of it. Greg, since you didn't watch and you don't have any perspective and you only saw things on social media, my follow-up question to this is sort of null and void. But taking the concept of going to an active naval base, and racing on it, where would you like to see that go? Would you like to see them stick at Coronado? Would you like them to go to other military installations, maybe shed light on the Navy one year, the Army, the Coast Guard, the Marines? I mean, a Space Force race would be hilarious.
That would actually be hilarious. Yes, go down to like Canaveral or Kennedy and just. I was
just saying, like Vin Diesel shows up with his rocket powered Charger.
That'd be great.
Would you like to see this like venture off into other avenues? Like, would it be could you host a street race around, say, the Chevy headquarters or the Ford headquarters or the Toyota Racing Development in California? It's not. Yeah, it is TRD. Is it TRD? TRD is NASCAR. It's GR everywhere else, but they're connected. They're the same thing. It's just branding.
But yeah, the answer to your question is yes. I want to see all of everything you're saying. I think different military bases is an interesting one. Kart used to race at a an airstrip. I forget what it was.
That is,
it had a really sharp first corner right hander. Was it in Washington? Was it in Canada? It was a really cool track because it was a big long airstrip for the front stretch, a dead right, like almost like not a 90-degree, but like it was like a 135-degree right hand turn. Like you made the right and you were going backwards. It was a really cool track. I remember playing on it on Kart World Series back on PlayStation 1.
Do you remember what it was? That was the Grand Prix of Cleveland on Burke Lakefront Airport.
That was it. Yes. So
I mean the St. Petersburg, I think, is on an airport. There's a lot of former military bases that are actual racetracks now.
Yes,
Sebring is one of them. Silverstone is another one of them. But like active, like
not active, no.
Yeah.
But like active bases, yes, I think that would be really cool to see. I think it gets a great tie-in to what a lot of NASCAR fans like, which is patriotism, America, and freedomness. I think it would be really cool to see more of that. For where? I don't really know enough about bases to know that, but I'll be honest. When you said Space Force, I would love to see a Cape Canaveral Grand Prix or Cape Canaveral 500. It was just like a giant turn around the launch pad of the freaking shuttles and all the rockets would be so fucking cool. And my love of space colliding with my love of cars, and like I would go to that. Like that would be one of those ones that I'm just like, I don't want to watch this. I want to be at the thing. Like that would be just ridiculous. So, I mean, yes. To answer your question, yes, I want to see it happen. I want them to do it. I don't know exactly where. Canaveral would be my biggest one. But like other military bases would be very cool. Just because of the wildly different design of all of them would make for very interesting racing and track design.
Right, because I mean, there was like 9,000 different track surfaces at this one. There's a freaking jump. Like
Yeah, they're catching air.
like
That's reason enough to do this again elsewhere.
Somewhere Mercedes was having horrible flashbacks. Um
not ideal.
so, Joe goes in there, he says Edwards Air Force Base, an option, Okinawa, Fort Benning.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people, like when I did my video and like people were talking about take it international. Now, that would be galactically expensive. So,
Yeah.
but it would be cool to like go to a US military base in Germany or something.
Yeah.
But
that would be very cool.
Would that be the best way to sort of showcase an international race? Or would like using the Hockenheim ring be a better alternative? I don't know.
Right.
There was news about a demo race occurring in Australia that recently was put on the back burner, which I thought was pretty cool, at the Gold Coast.
That would be sweet.
Running 10, I think NASCARs, or 6, or I forget exactly the numbers, but they were going to have equal representation, so it couldn't be 10, but equal representation from each manufacturer. That'd be interesting, Joe. Like, instead of shipping the cars by like normal freight or what have you, just have them all on an aircraft. Like, that is arguably one of the most aggressively American things I could think of. Just show up to Okinawa with an aircraft carrier, and instead of like Higgins boats coming out, it's just a bunch of NASCAR haulers. While fucking Freebird blasts on the loudspeaker.
Yes. Hell yes.
But like, I personally maintain that it's going to take some time because this took 2 years for them to put the Coronado thing together. Mm-hmm. So it's probably going to take them 2 years if they were to decide to go to say whatever the Coronado equivalent of the U.S. Army is. So I maintain that like, what if you did Coronado for 1 more year, got with the Army or the Air Force, or it's like whatever, said, okay, you're next up. Start thinking about it, and kind of hop around, because I think that would be cool, and it would stop from getting stale's not the right word, but ununique, right? Like part of this weekend that made it so special was the fact that it had never been done. It was unique. NASCAR on a street course is a very, very young thing, with Chicago, I think 3 years prior to this. So like, that is still a fresh idea. Putting it on a naval base, all the pomp and circumstance that went along with it was perfect in my estimation. I think you're going to see a lot of this at the Freedom 250 in Washington, D.C. when IndyCar does their kind of version of this. But like I said, if you rotate it, so you rotate it, and let's say you do it every 2 years. So each base would get 2 years, which allows them to sort of amortize the costs of any sort of whatever. I don't know how much cost the Navy you put out for this, or if it was all on NASCAR's dime. I don't know how the cost break down, but assuming the venue has to pay out a certain amount, amortizing the development cost over 2 years is obviously better for all parties involved than just 1 year. So if you get 2 years in Coronado, 2 years in Army, 2 years at the Air Force, right?
Right.
It's fresh every year. And then 10 years later, you're back at Coronado. It's like, oh, I remember when it was here before. And now it's like this. Now it's like that. And Lejeune hosting it on a Marine Corps base, you might run into CRAN issues. It's like, um, I'm kidding, of course. Thank you for your service to all the Marines out there.
Solid joke. We all know.
I'm sorry. It just goes back. This is a fat electrician joke, not mine originally, but it's where my brain went. He goes, there are two things when you call the U.S. Marines when you want two things done. You want something dead or something pregnant. At any rate, I just think there's an opportunity here. Now, obviously, no conversations has been had by NASCAR between the other branches of the military. Hell, there's probably a decent chance that they're not back at Coronado next year. However, for the year after, maybe.
Yeah.
However, there's still a chance for next year. They're talking about July 4th, possibly. But
on the nose.
But I'll end with this before we get into angry time.
Yes. I love angry time.
This is why NASCAR just does it better than everything else. Could you imagine Formula One trying something like this? They'd fucking never do it.
And if they did it, they would not nail it at all.
No. I mean, number one, they'd be like, okay, thank you all for your service. You're repaving every last inch of this. Which, okay, fine. Like F1 cars at Coronado, not great. Or great, depending on if you like seeing cars literally fly out of control.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This has been a military service member car guy conversation for decades. Wait, what? Joe, were you in the service? Alicia goes, NASCAR better not take away my July 4th plans. I live about 20 minutes from Chicagoland Speedway. The only thing I do for the 4th. Oh, they're not talking about... I forget the exact mechanics of it, but I think Chicago's keeping a race. Whether it be Chicagoland or the street course. Because there has been talks about bringing that back. I don't think this is in lieu of that. I don't know. A lot of things are going to be... Chicagoland has to show out at this year's event, which is the 4th this year. The track's rough. It's probably going to be highly abrasive on tires. Should make for a really, really good race. But that don't mean squat if the fans don't show up. And that's why they left in the first place.
Yeah.
And Joseph goes, Joseph was in the Navy. Well, thank you for your service, Joseph. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Alicia goes, the street race is gone because Cook County is gross and nasty and super corrupt. Yeah, I don't know enough about the insiding part of that. I do know that a lot of the NASCAR stuff I follow, the insider stuff I follow, the press release stuff I follow, there's more than a whisper about it, the street course coming back. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Cook County found their inner Al Capone and there's a dump truck of money heading to NASCAR. I don't know. I'm just simply saying that it has been mentioned. People like Dale Jr., Kevin Harvick, they've mentioned the potential of it coming back. But on the flip side, there should be a race in that section of the country because there's really not anything else up there NASCAR-wise. I think the next closest race would be, I think, Iowa. Again, I have never been to Chicago apart from the not O'Hare Airport, whatever the other one is. Midway, I think.
Oh, yeah, Midway.
I've had layovers in Midway. That's my experience with Chicago.
Yeah. It's not great.
But that's a part of the world part of the country that deserves a race.
It technically is a part of the world too.
Yes. You're technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
Michigan and Iowa, outside of Indy. But yeah, the Midwest is, and I'm not talking specifically Chicago, but the Midwest is a blue collar portion of America. There's a large and long stock car history in the Midwest, dating all the way back to NASCAR's inception. drivers from Kansas were winning races in the inaugural season of NASCAR. So like, it's a part they should be at, and obviously Chicago being the third largest media market in the country, I believe, is obviously a place they want to be. But again, like with all these sort of, I don't want to say fringe tracks, but like if Chicagolanders want to keep that race specifically at the Oval, they got to show up and show out, not just this year, but if it comes back next year and the year after.
Yeah.
Because there are other events, there's other tracks that are chomping at the bit to get on the schedule that could probably sell out.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go. Great Lakes, Illinois Navy Base. 2 birds, 1 stone. Joseph is the idea man.
I like it.
Hey, when you're right, you're right. At any rate, Chirik. I'm not doing that. Greg, tell me about build quality of Japanese cars built in America. Is it shit? Is it not? What's going on with that?
Great transition. So I made a reel the other day on cars that are built in America, specifically the US, and then being import or exported from here, but imported to Japan. But they're Japanese makes, so Toyota, Nissan. I mean, we all know that a lot of companies have manufacturing facilities in here, in here. It's like it's in my house, in the U.S. Subaru builds a bunch of cars in Indiana. Honda famously builds a whole bunch of stuff in Ohio. Toyota has shops and manufacturing plants in Texas. I don't know where Nissan has one, but they're all over. And the most American-made truck in the world is the Toyota Tundra, which is hilarious because a lot of people would say Chevy, which is the least American-made truck at like 49 or 50%. Toyota is about 70, 75% U.S. parts and manufacturing and labor. But the funny thing is, those vehicles, usually when they're exported from here, have to go through a rigorous process to be able to actually drive in Japan. Emissions, safety, electronics, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of rigmarole you got to go through because through the magic of every country or region having different things and different laws and different evap controls and different emissions controls and blah, blah, blah. They gotta do a whole bunch of stuff. However, for the first time ever, the Tundra and I'm gonna forget the other one. Damn it. Forerunner, Sienna, not the Sienna. Forerunner, something. 2 Toyotas, specifically one is the Tundra, are being imported to Japan with 0 changes, and they are being approved by the Japanese government to drive in Japan. First time ever. Nissan also is doing the same thing. I believe it's the Murano. I forget if I need to go look at the articles, but
Murano is what you said in the video.
So yeah, it's the Murano. Then that's what was in the article. But again, same thing. Exported from the U.S. to Japan. On Nissan's website, it is saying underneath that bit of news that there may be differences in panel gaps, in paint quality, in this, that, and the other thing, right? Well, a bunch of journals sort of picked this up, and they've been reporting on it. Directly underneath Nissan's warning, they say, but this means essentially nothing. It's a quality car, and you should purchase with confidence. So a lot of journals have sort of taken the first part of that as every car from the U.S. that's made in the U.S. or cars that are made in the U.S. are terrible quality. They have to put a warning on these cars to even export them. But they're missing like a whole bunch of points. And it's this whole thing about lazy journalism. And it's about journalism for clicks. Is what they're doing is they are essentially taking this one snippet and making that the soundbite. or the headline. And it's basically saying that US cars or cars made in the US are terrible. And it's just not accurate. It's the first time these cars are being exported to Japan as a region, and there are zero changes made to them, which actually should speak volumes about how good the quality actually is. Because if they were making all these other changes, then, oh, well, they're not appropriate for the Japanese market. The Japanese have to then take these cars and make them appropriate for their market. When in reality, these cars are being exported and Japan is giving them an exemption. It's like, oh, these are up to our quality. You can go drive in our country now. But these journals are taking the headline and they say, US build quality is suspect because of this one line of like, there may be differences in panel gaps. There may be differences in paint, blah, blah, blah. It is such horrifically terrible, lazy bullshit journalism to say that and not give the context of, oh, by the way, right underneath it that says you should still buy this with confidence. It's a well-made car on Nissan's site. And I'm sure they had to put a disclaimer there per Japanese law or per internal affairs at Nissan or Toyota. But like the fact that the journals are like saying this just speaks to how abysmal automotive journalism as a whole has gotten. When we started this, it was back in 2013, 2014. There was some hard-hitting stuff on the internet. Jalopnik was still big. They're still big now, but it's not nearly what it was. And most of the writers there are just glorified pen jockeys that don't even own cars that live in New York City. Most of the people that are writing for cars now barely even know what cars can do. And they're just seeing headlines and they're like, ooh, let's just regurgitate that. It is infuriating to watch, and it is infuriating to see things like this happen. But this is a great example of like the sort of stupidification of car journalism in that sense. It's so lazy and it's so bad. But in reality, and in answer to your question, no, cars are not terrible from the US. They are built just fine. And contrary to what everyone else is saying, they're well-made cars. End of discussion. But I think it leads to a larger discussion of where else are we seeing this lazy journalism?
Everywhere.
What are some examples that you've seen, and how enraged does it make you?
I mean, you see it. It just happens. I didn't save any specific examples because I dove more into the
This was my garage door. Keep going.
The who behind a lot of this stuff. And like, for example, Motor One, who's generally considered to be one of the better journals out there, is one of the journals that fell into this trap. They did an article, and like, here's the thing. Toyota and Nissan admit their American-made vehicles aren't. Now, this headline is just categorically false. Toyota and Nissan admit their American-made vehicles aren't up to the Japanese standards.
That's incorrect.
That is borderline libelous.
Yeah, it's just flat out not correct.
And in the sort of the subtitle, Japanese buyers are not used to buying new cars that might have thin paint, panel gaps, or leftover residue. And then it goes on to basically say what you said, that they're warning of this. Now, I forget who said it, Joseph, I think it was. Japanese law requires you to be transparent with all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to say, this is imported, it comes from somewhere else, and it may have X, Y, and Z. Doesn't mean it has X, Y, and Z. It might have it.
Right.
A lot of these internal reports, the Japanese imports come on every form of car.
Yeah. It's a disclaimer. It's not a statement of fact.
But this is a, you know, here's the thing. This is very much a top, what's the word I'm looking for here? Very much a click farm of a topic. From the simple fact is that you can get one side to sit here and say America bad, i.e., can't make good cars. See, Japan is saying that, even though they're not.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand,
Right.
you're going to have the other side of the equation where they're like, they wake up every single morning, pet their bald eagle, shoot a shotgun into the sky because they can, and go, "You're fucking stupid."
Yeah.
Like, so it's just natural. It's not only lazy, but in some cases, in some of the articles I've come across, it is deliberately divisive. And some people have even gone as far as to try and squeeze as much of that as they can into the article. Facts be damned.
Yeah.
The Motor One article, again, written by Anthony Alains. I don't care if I'm mispronouncing his name, because,
Yeah.
I mean, to call this man a journalist is...
Which is strange because I have read his stuff before and it's usually pretty spot on. So that leads me down another rabbit hole of, did he even write this, or did they AI write this and then put his name on it? Because
regardless, his name
some of his other stuff is not like this.
Here's the thing for me. You are going to allow someone to put your name to something, you better damn well have something to do with the creation of it. And if you just sit here and rubber stamp your name on something that is like this, I do not care. You are absolutely 1000% as culpable as if you had a ghostwriter write it for you, or if someone else wrote it, or if it was literally just AI slop. You put your name to it.
100%.
So not only does this article take everything out of context, doesn't mention the fact that this is legally required by Japan, doesn't mention the fact that Nissan's own website says the cars are fine, we just have to say this stuff, otherwise we'll get a big old fine from the Japanese government. But he ties it back into tariffs. Now, I understand that the reason they're doing this is a lot of it has to do with tariffs. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm pro-tariffs. I'm anti-tariffs. What I'm sitting here and saying is, you know what tariffs directly go to? Our president. You know what is another click farm of a topic? Our president. I'm not going to sit here and say one side of the aisle or the other. I do not care. What I'm saying is that this article is constructed in a way to not inform, to not give all of the facts, to not show off 10 minutes at most it would have taken to get this correct or to have all of the information. So it's lazy or it's deliberate. Almost don't care which way it is, because it has the exact same effect.
Yeah, there's also no other way to see it. It's incorrect. So it's lazy or divisive on purpose. And both of those avenues are not good.
So I went and I'm not going to show you anything.
Today I went on the internet and I found this.
I was on the internet and I did find things, but nothing blue. But you know how most authors, in this case, I'll say someone who should strongly consider a career shift into fiction, has his social medias attached to him, right? Now, you'd think in today's day and age, having a good, decent social media following is an asset. It's something of a requirement. It's something of a, in my estimation, if let's just say Shifting Lanes went back to being a news site, it was like, just say, let's flip the switch, we're going to be like Motor One again.
Yeah.
I want our social medias to be as strong as possible, like our individuals, to drive as much traffic as possible.
Yeah.
And frankly, I find it a cop-out to have your account set to private. Which goes on to tell me that, number one, you're probably engaging... Look, it's America. You have freedom of speech. You can say, do say or whatever the hell you want. I don't care. I don't have to agree with you, but I will. You could say something so wildly out of left field. I may disagree with you, call you an idiot, blah blah blah. But you know what? If I was called into action, I would fight to defend your right to say whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very important part. But it's, how do I put this? You're insulating yourself from feedback. Now, I understand. We're on the internet. We have open comments. We see what some people say about us. I got a DM from someone the other day who said on the social media, on the Shifting Lanes account, basically, you effing this, do your fucking research, you effing moron, you fucking suck, blah, 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 blah. I almost wanted to respond with, I appreciate and value the time you took to give such invaluable feedback. I just deleted the message. But
do you remember what it was about? Like, what video?
It was about my NASCAR video, and I admitted I messed up, and I put a retraction statement in the comments and pinned it on the social media platforms that allow pinning.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
You know, I owned my mistake there. And again, mistakes are fine. Now, obviously, you don't want to make a mistake in every single article you write because you lose all credibility. But every now and again, making a mistake, especially if you're churning out a lot of content, given your profession, whether your profession is to generate content, or in this case, articles, or your profession is something else and you do this on the side like we do, mistakes happen. It's part of it. You know?
Yeah.
Own them and move on. This isn't a mistake. This is deliberate. This is lazy. This is either using AI to say, write me a headline that would generate the most clicks with this topic. Or again, it's fucking deliberate. It's designed to not inform, but to divide. And that's where it really fucking pisses me off. Because we are sitting here, and when I made that mistake on that NASCAR video, it affected me personally. Well, is that healthy? Is it not? I don't know. The point of it is I felt like shit to such a degree that I not only wrote a retraction, I wrote a longer one than I probably needed to. I did copy and paste from the Midway Museum's website because, well, let's face it, they put it the best. And apparently on TikTok, I could only write a 140 character response, regardless.
Oh yeah, TikTok responses are so tiny; they're a joke.
Yeah, Joe goes, we don't put stock in opinions of individuals who have been swallowed, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. The best part of this guy ran down his mother's leg. Might be a little too blue for but like, so I try really, really hard. I know Greg tries really, really hard. It's obvious Hanson tries really, really hard to do our best when we're creating our content, to have the information, to try to tell the entirety of the story. Do we use legit baity titles? Yes, we do, but that's the game we have to play.
Yeah.
But correct. I'm not going to sit here, and Greg's video does not sit here. Greg's video's title, thumbnail, etc. doesn't say admit and aren't in it.
Yeah. Might, can, would, should. Lots of vagueness, which leaves it up to interpretation of the viewer. It's not isn't like there's not a lot of definitive there.
No, this is absolutely definitive. It's not saying did Toyota and Nissan admit, or is it possible, or it doesn't pose a question. This is posting it as a statement of fact. Yeah. Toyota and Nissan admit their American-made vehicles aren't up to Japanese standards.
Yeah.
Show me in what they said in anywhere. Is that actually the case?
Right. Oh, so that's what I'm saying. Like, for us, we leave the vagueness in there. That this is like they said this is like they didn't actually say this. They took a line from a disclaimer, which is what it is. This is a disclaimer that was probably put there by law, or because the powers that be asked them to put it there, or else they couldn't import the thing to Japan in the first place. And it's there because not because it's up to Japanese standards. Here's the thing though, if it wasn't up to Japanese standards, they wouldn't be importing it and making no changes. End of discussion. If it wasn't up to Japanese standards, they wouldn't be doing this. What people don't seem to understand is if the Japanese companies, people don't want something in their country, they don't let it in. They don't have it. Period. So the fact that it's being allowed in at all is good. Allowed in with zero changes is actually unprecedented because it has never happened before. I want to say that again. It's never happened before. The fact that they are doing it with a single disclaimer on their website speaks volumes for how good the quality is for the vehicle. So, like, them coming out and saying this, they aren't up to quality, is exactly what you said. It is incorrect. It is wrong. And it is bad journalism. And quite frankly, it is dangerous journalism.
Like I said, it is borderline libelous.
Correct. Because my guess is that if Toyota or Nissan really wanted to, they could send a cease and desist letter on that article because of the headline.
And here's the thing. And here's the one thing that will sort of end this one on. So that article gets published. Now, up until this article, I generally looked at Motor One as a fairly reputable, sort of down the middle, sort of, I'll get the news, I won't get an agenda.
Yeah.
But this article goes out there. And like most people, and a lot of people look at Motor One the way I used to. The drive. You know that picture this is an inside thing, but you know that picture I sent you last night that was kind of the spawn of this entire conversation from the drive? Well, that comes from a quote unquote rundown on their podcast of the downshift, right? Where they're talking about this. They take it and run with it. Same headline. Toyota and Nissan admit their American-made cars may have thin paint, panel gaps, and leftover residue. The downshift. So this is summarizing all of those stories. And in the part where they talk about the Toyota, and they go, Toyota and Nissan are now importing American-made vehicles into Japan. But an embarrassing plot twist. Now, I don't... Right? And... Okay, if you could sit here and say, okay, I've read the Motor One article. This is obviously very embarrassing. If you're taking at face value, right? And you do no additional work, which
thinking
is stupid on, it just goes to show you how much recycling is done. I'm not going to sit here and say we break news stories all the time. We do a lot of the recycling. But when I do an article on something, I'm usually reading 5 to 6 sources.
Yeah. It's also your opinion too.
Yeah, most of my stuff is opinion.
Yeah. It's not like you're just saying this is the news, done. Like that's low
very
effort.
We very much try to stick to the op-ed side of the equation. We just do it in video form instead of the written form. Because the written form is fucking dying.
Yeah.
Toyota and Nissan now are importing American-made vehicles into Japan, but in an embarrassing plot twist, the automakers are selling these vehicles with a notice telling the buyers the quality is not up to Japanese standards. The warning there might be in thin paint, panel gaps, and leftover residue. And they backlink the Motor One article on this part of it, right?
Yeah.
They backlink it. So, that tells me, what was the amount of research that went into this? None.
0.
Now you might think that something like the rundown for this that sort of glosses over a lot of the topics that they discuss on the show and everything like that might be done by some intern or some low-level staff writer or what have you.
Yeah.
This article is credited Again, I don't care if you wrote it, you put your name to it. Therefore, I'm assuming
Yeah.
you wrote it. It's the same fucking
Yeah.
thing in my head. Joe Feder, Feder. Who is Joe Feder, you might be wondering? Joe Feder is not some intern, not some low-level employee, not some new hire that sort of has to do this stuff until they can get the bigger stories or go on location, all that stuff. Joe Feder is the director of content and product at The Drive. He's a World Car Award juror. This is on his social media bio, by the way. That's
embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
And that I say to show just the depth of this. Now, I would have loved to have dug into this one topic and found the one news outlet that reported it correctly, yada, yada, yada. That wasn't us. But frankly, I didn't want to get yelling at my microphone mad.
Yeah.
Some staff writer at Motor One who clearly has an agenda and wants to sell a narrative that has nothing to do about cars. Writes something. Gets picked up by a director of, what was his fucking random ass title? Why don't we just call him an editor in chief or something? Director of content and product. What product are they making? Is there like is there a line of The Drive cologne? Smell like balding disappointment, I'm guessing.
It's one of those stupid titles where it's like director of product. It's like it's like brand manager. It's such a nothing burger of a title these days.
But director of content, right? Like that's right. It gets in this guy's hand. And you'd think someone with that title, he's not just the staff writer, right? Like he has moved up whatever number of rungs it takes to get to the director of content and product. It's clearly not hair product if you go on his Instagram. That is a bald joke. Him and Greg could probably bond over that. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you into the fire as well.
Yeah, way to loop me in here. God damn.
But it is obviously of someone, we'll just call it middle management, maybe even upper management. Again, I don't know what this fucking title means. Like, you're just making up shit.
Yeah.
Takes it, runs with it, does no additional research. That is a person in a position of power not having any journalistic integrity. Just slapping his name to something somebody else wrote. And taking it as gospel.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the closing thing here is do better. Because you're clearly not doing it at all.
Have pride in your work. Guess what? If you want to, back to the original article, if you want to write something that has a political subtext, go work at a news outlet that deals in that.
Yeah.
And you know what? No problem. Guess what? That's what your job is to do. Work for an automotive journal. It's supposed to report on the automotive news, create automotive-based content, automotive type stuff. Because you mentioned, like, you know, he had all this stuff. You know how we just got the slate pricing?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. The slate is under $25,000. Mm-hmm. The slate is more expensive than they told us.
Because that's the sexy headline that sells the views. That's the thing.
You know. So,
yeah.
You know,
do better.
Look, I don't mean to go on this much of a rant, and it's been like a half hour, 45 minutes of you basically watching me absolutely just get annoyed to hell about others in this profession. And I used to hesitate to call myself a journalist. I used to hesitate to put myself on the guys who do it day in, day out. It is their job. Yeah. It is their primary source of income. It is all of that sort of stuff. I used to hesitate because I didn't necessarily think I deserved to be on that level. Because what I do is not necessarily the hard-hitting journalism. It is opinion-based. I try to do my best. Sometimes I make mistakes. but I hesitated to put my name on it. Now I hesitate to call myself a journalist because these fucking hacks can't get their shit together and put slop out there that is completely misleading and flat out wrong.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And before we even get to Greg's dad advice of the week, I'm going to have some dad advice. And that is take pride in your work, have some integrity, and be willing to go the extra mile.
That was mine. That literally was what mine was going to be, because I knew this is our ending topic. It was like, if you're going to do something, do it with conviction and do it with truth, and actually take the time to think about it and not just be like, that's my opinion, I only read the headline. Actually do the research, but not just like the do your own research crowd, because half to the majority of the do your own research crowd doesn't even do the research. They don't read anything.
Gemini said this, research done.
Exactly. Or this one outlet said this, or this other outlet said this. No, you need to read 10 to 12 different opinions and do the research. So,
and read the articles and read the stuff from maybe
correct.
The other side that you don't agree with.
Correct. And if you're going to do something, do it properly. And that goes with anything in life, not just journalism. If you're going to build something, measure twice, cut once. Do it properly. Do it with conviction, do it with truth, and do it with actual knowledge behind what you're trying to do, regardless of what it is. And that's the one thing I do try to teach my boys specifically is, the truth makes you brave, whatever that truth may be. So don't lie. If you're going to get in trouble, tell the truth and get in trouble. I'll never not love you for that. I'll never be disappointed and mad at you for telling the truth. It might get you in trouble depending on what you did, but I will never be disappointed in you for telling the truth, because that means you're brave. So that's my dad advice of the week. Be brave, tell the truth, actually have conviction for things, and don't be an idiot and write articles like this.
Exactly. And again, something my dad told me, with Father's Day last weekend. Happy Father's Day, by the way, Greg.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Or a couple weekends ago. When the fuck was Father's Day? I don't remember.
I think it's
Sunday?
like a week and a half ago at this point. Was
Like
it literally this? I don't know what day it is at this point.
When did the U.S. Open end? It ended on Father's Day.
I think it's this past Sunday. Yeah.
There's a sport I haven't watched since leaving the industry, golf. My dad always used to tell me, and he's not unique for saying this isn't some this isn't some pearl of wisdom only divulged onto the world by William Kennedy. It's that if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability and do it with pride.
Yeah.
If you cannot be proud of the job you did it wrong, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it right the first time. And yeah, I think
that's great. That's good. That's good dad advice to end on for sure. That's perfect.
And again, if you're going to put your name to something, it's like it came out of your mouth, dumbass. At any rate,
yeah,
that's going to put a wrap on this show. Wow, it's almost a 2.5 show with just me and Greg. This is usually the type of show that Elliot and I have.
True.
But on that note, I want to thank everybody for watching, everyone who commented, shared, all that.
Appreciate y'all.
We will catch you next week.